Welcome to MSL Stories. Friends, if you don't mind, please subscribe to my channel. I have a dream of 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. Let's start the story. The morning started like any other. The faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the kitchen as I tightened my tie, preparing for another long day at the advertising firm. My name is Nathan. I'm 34 years old, a marketing executive who takes pride in precision, whether it's in my work presentations or the structure of my personal life. My wife, Charlotte, always joked about my obsessive need for control. She'd laugh, calling me the guy with a spreadsheet for emotions. At 32, Charlotte was the perfect partner, or so I thought. She worked as an HR manager at a luxury retail chain, a role she described as solving corporate dramas. She had an aura of poise and sharp wit that drew people in. We'd been married for 7 years, our life outwardly resembling a picturesque sitcom. A well-decorated suburban home, a dog named Max, and shared vacations that garnered envious comments on social media. That morning, as Charlotte scrambled through the bedroom, muttering something about an overdue report, she grabbed her phone from the nightstand and tossed it into her bag. I didn't think much of it until I noticed my phone was nowhere in sight. That's when I realized she'd accidentally taken mine. I didn't have time to chase her. My meeting schedule was packed. With a shrug, I picked up her phone, identical to mine except for the slightly cracked camera lens, and headed out. I barely made it 10 minutes into my commute when a call from an unfamiliar contact lit up the screen. The name on the screen wasn't a name at all, just an odd mix of symbols. Asterisk, 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 percent at dollar. Against my better instinct, I answered. "Hey, gorgeous," came a male voice, deep and far too familiar for comfort. "Last night was unforgettable. Can't wait for round 2. There was a long silence. My mouth went dry and I gripped the steering wheel tighter. "Who is this?" I finally managed to say, keeping my voice even. The man hesitated, then stammered, is this Charlotte's phone?" "It's her husband's," I said flatly. The line went dead. For a moment I sat frozen in traffic, trying to piece together the bizarre exchange. My pulse raced. I unlocked her phone. It wasn't difficult since I knew her password, a combination of her birth date and our dog's name. What greeted me was nothing short of devastating. No notifications, no visible incriminating texts. But I knew better than to stop there. A deeper search revealed archived conversations hidden in a folder. And there it was, a thread of messages with the same cryptic name. I didn't read them all immediately, but the ones I skimmed painted an unmistakable picture. Dates, plans, explicit exchanges. The man wasn't just anyone. He was her boss, William, 45 years old, a man I'd met at her last holiday office party. I remembered his handshake, too firm, his smile just a touch too charming. It hadn't occurred to me then that his interest in Charlotte was anything but professional. Charlotte wasn't just my wife, she was the person I trusted most. The betrayal cut deeper than words could describe, yet I couldn't let emotion dictate my next move. Instead of confronting her immediately, I decided to act strategically. By the time I reached the office, my mind was spinning, yet outwardly, I wore a mask of composure. Years of working in marketing had taught me to maintain a poker face even in the most chaotic situations. But this wasn't just chaos. This was my life unraveling. Charlotte's phone sat in my briefcase, a silent weight that demanded action. As much as I wanted to confront her right then, I knew I needed more than a gut feeling and a few suspicious texts. I needed evidence, cold, undeniable proof that would render her excuses meaningless. During lunch, I locked myself in my office and delved into her phone further. The archived chat was the tip of the iceberg. There were photos, some innocuous, others intimate enough to make my stomach churn. Dates matched the nights she'd told me she was working late or meeting her girlfriends for drinks. Scrolling further, I found voice notes. In one, William's voice oozed confidence as he whispered, "I can't stop thinking about you, Charlotte. He doesn't deserve you." My jaw clenched. The audacity. But then came the most damning discovery, an email draft saved on her phone. It detailed plans for a weekend business trip. The location? A luxury spa resort in the countryside. The check-in date was this coming Friday. It didn't take much to realize I wasn't invited. The betrayal stung, but anger overpowered my sadness. How long had this been going on? How many lies had I swallowed, oblivious to the truth? But I wouldn't let emotions cloud my judgment. This was a chess game, and I needed to play it smart. That evening, I went home as if nothing had happened. Charlotte greeted me with her usual smile, kissed me on the cheek, and asked about my day. Her ability to feign normalcy was almost admirable. If I hadn't known better, I might have believed her act. But now every word she said felt rehearsed, every gesture calculated. "You're quiet tonight," she observed over dinner. "Everything okay?" "Just a tough day at work," I replied, forcing a tired smile. "What about you?" "Oh, you know, the usual. Meetings, emails, nothing exciting." She sipped her wine nonchalantly, as if she hadn't spent her day planning a romantic getaway with her boss. I decided to test her. "Any plans this weekend?" "I was thinking we could go hiking, get some fresh air." Charlotte hesitated just for a fraction of a second before shaking her head. "Oh, I wish, but I have a work thing. William wants the whole team to attend a seminar out of town. You know how he is. Can't say no to the boss." I nodded, pretending to understand. Inside, my anger simmered, but I kept my tone even. "Of course, work comes first." Her relief was palpable. She didn't suspect a thing. That night, as Charlotte slept soundly beside me, I reached out to the one person I knew I could trust, my childhood friend, Aaron. We'd been through thick and thin together, and if there was anyone who'd have my back, it was him. Aaron answered on the second ring. "Nate, it's late. Everything okay?" "Not really," I admitted, my voice low. "I need your help with something serious." I explained everything: Charlotte's affair, the messages, the upcoming trip. Aaron was livid on my behalf. "Man, I can't believe this. You don't deserve that. Whatever you need, I'm in. I need you to help me track them," I said. "I want to know exactly where they go, what they do. I need proof that can't be denied." Aaron, a tech whiz with a knack for surveillance, didn't hesitate. "Say no more. Send me the details and I'll set everything up." The plan was simple but effective. Aaron would plant a discreet GPS tracker on Charlotte's car and monitor her movements. Meanwhile, I'd continue playing the role of the oblivious husband, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Friday morning arrived. Charlotte was in high spirits as she packed her overnight bag. She kissed me goodbye, promising to call when she arrived at the seminar. I watched her drive away, a hollow smile on my face. Aaron and I followed at a safe distance, his laptop open on the passenger seat as the GPS tracker pinpointed her location. As expected, she didn't head toward the seminar venue she'd mentioned. Instead, her car veered off the highway and onto a scenic route leading to the luxury spa resort. We parked a few blocks away and waited. Soon, another car pulled into the resort parking lot, a sleek black SUV I recognized from William's Instagram photos. He stepped out, greeted Charlotte with a hug that lingered too long, and grabbed her bag as they walked inside together. "Got him," Aaron muttered, snapping photos from his zoom lens. But this wasn't enough for me. I needed more. While Aaron kept watch, I contacted a private investigator I'd hired earlier in the week. His job was to gather irrefutable evidence of the affair. By the end of the day, I had everything I needed. Photos, videos, even receipts from their hotel booking. It was a rock-solid case, but I wasn't done yet. The final phase of my plan required patience and precision. Charlotte returned home Sunday evening, her demeanor as casual as ever. She wore the same serene smile that had once felt comforting, but now seemed like a mask hiding her lies. "How was the seminar?" I asked from the couch, not looking up from the book I was pretending to read. She hesitated only briefly. "Pretty dull, honestly. Just a lot of corporate jargon. You didn't miss much." My stomach churned at her boldness. But instead of confronting her outright, I merely nodded, pretending to accept her excuse. "Well, at least it's over." That night, as she slept, I finalized the details of my plan. It wasn't enough to simply end things. I wanted justice, not just for myself, but to expose both her and William for what they were: liars, manipulators, and cowards. By the time I was finished, they wouldn't just lose me, they'd lose everything they had worked to protect. Monday morning, I went to her office unannounced. I wasn't there to create a scene or shout in the lobby. Instead, I scheduled a private meeting with William under the guise of discussing a potential advertising campaign for his company. When I walked into his office, his face betrayed no recognition of who I was. "Nathan, right?" he said, shaking my hand with that overly firm grip I now despised. "Charlotte's mentioned you. She says you're a marketing genius." "Something like that," I said, sitting down. My calm demeanor seemed to put him at ease, but I wasn't here for small talk. "Actually, I'm here about something personal." His smile faltered. "Personal?" I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. "Charlotte, I know everything." The blood drained from his face. I don't know what you're talking about." "Oh, I think you do." I pulled out a folder and placed it on his desk. "Inside, you'll find photos, messages, and receipts. Enough evidence to make your HR department, board of directors, and, your wife, very interested." William's hands trembled as he opened the folder. He flipped through the contents, his expression shifting from denial to panic. This isn't necessary. Let's be adults about this. I smiled coldly. Oh, we're being adults, that's why I'm giving you two options. First, you resign effective immediately and provide Charlotte with a recommendation that guarantees she'll never work in this field again. Second, I take this to everyone, your company, your family, and every professional contact you've ever made. His lips parted as if to protest, but no words came out. Finally, he nodded, defeated. Fine, I'll resign. But this stays between us. Depends on how cooperative you are, I replied, standing. You have until Friday. Next, I turned my attention to Charlotte. I wanted her to feel the weight of her betrayal, not just from me, but from everyone who had once respected her. The following evening, I invited her to dinner at her favorite restaurant. She arrived unsuspecting, dressed to the nines and smiling as if we were celebrating something. Wow, this is a surprise, she said, settling into her seat. What's the occasion? I didn't respond immediately, letting her bask in the illusion of normalcy for a few moments longer. Then, I slid my phone across the table, its screen displaying the evidence I'd gathered. Her smile froze. What is this? You tell me, I said calmly. You and William seem to have had quite the weekend. Her face paled and she stammered, Nathan, it's not what it looks like. Stop, I interrupted. You don't get to lie anymore. I know everything. The messages, the photos, the trips. This marriage is over. Tears welled up in her eyes, but I didn't feel a shred of sympathy. Nathan, please, I cut her off again. Save it. Here's what's going to happen. I've already filed for divorce. You'll be hearing from my lawyer soon. And as for William, let's just say his career is over. Her tears turned to anger. You can't just ruin my life like this. Ruin your life, I said, my voice rising slightly. You ruined your own life the moment you decided to betray me. This is just the consequence. My final move was the most satisfying. Using the evidence I'd gathered, I sent an anonymous tip to William's company's board of directors. Within days, an internal investigation was launched, uncovering not only his affair with Charlotte, but also other instances of misconduct. He was terminated immediately, his reputation in shambles. As for Charlotte, I made sure her new career opportunities were non-existent. Every prospective employer she approached received a copy of the email draft detailing her unethical behavior. While I didn't ruin her entirely, I ensured she wouldn't easily find a foothold in the corporate world again. In the weeks that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. Aaron became an anchor of support, helping me navigate the emotional aftermath. While the betrayal still hurt, I found solace in knowing that I hadn't let them walk away unscathed. One evening, Aaron and I sat on my porch, beers in hand. You know, he said, you handled that like a pro. No drama, just results. I chuckled. Revenge isn't about rage, it's about precision. As the sun set, I felt a strange sense of peace. My life wasn't perfect, but it was mine again. And for the first time in years, I felt free. Just when I thought I had put everything behind me, life threw me one last curveball. A month after the divorce was finalized, I received an email from a name I didn't recognize. The subject line read, "You need to know this about Charlotte and William." My initial instinct was to delete it, but curiosity got the better of me. The message contained a link to an online folder. With my pulse quickening, I clicked it, revealing a series of documents and videos. At first, I couldn't make sense of what I was looking at. Financial spreadsheets, legal contracts, and a few grainy surveillance clips showing William handing Charlotte thick envelopes. And then it hit me. This wasn't just an affair. Charlotte and William had been laundering money through her position in HR. Bonuses, fake invoices, and inflated reimbursements all pointed to a carefully orchestrated scheme. Suddenly, her frequent late nights and urgent work meetings took on a new, sinister context. The email ended with a cryptic note. You didn't hear this from me, but there's more if you dig deeper. It didn't take long for me to connect the dots. Whoever sent this wanted to remain anonymous, but they clearly knew the inner workings of William's company. Whether they were a disgruntled employee or someone seeking justice, I didn't care. This wasn't just personal anymore, it was criminal. The next morning, I contacted a corporate fraud investigator. After laying out everything I'd discovered, they agreed to look into it. Within days, they confirmed my suspicions. William and Charlotte had embezzled tens of thousands of dollars from the company, and the trail was well documented. All I needed to do was hand it over to the authorities. But I wanted to make sure the fallout was as public as possible. I reached out to a reporter I knew from a previous work campaign, tipping them off anonymously. The story hit the news like a bombshell. Headlines screamed about corporate fraud, illicit affairs, and betrayals. William was arrested first, his high-profile lifestyle and corporate connections crumbling under the weight of the evidence. Charlotte wasn't far behind. Seeing her mugshot plastered across news outlets was surreal. Once poised and confident, she now looked defeated, her carefully curated image shattered. For weeks, the story dominated headlines. Former employees came forward with additional allegations, painting an even darker picture of William's corruption. As for Charlotte, her name became synonymous with scandal. Even her closest friends distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with her disgrace. With the chaos finally behind me, I focused on moving forward. I sold the house that Charlotte and I had shared, using the proceeds to buy a smaller place in the city. It wasn't just a change of scenery. It was a chance to start fresh. I also took a step back from my career, reassessing what truly mattered to me. The betrayal had been a painful wake-up call, but it also pushed me to rediscover parts of myself I'd neglected. I picked up photography, a hobby I'd abandoned years ago, and even started volunteering at a local animal shelter. One evening, as I was scrolling through my phone, I got a message from Aaron. "Drinks tonight? You've earned it." Smiling, I replied, "Count me in." Months later, I received a letter in the mail. It was from Charlotte. Against my better judgment, I opened it. The tone was contrite, almost pleading. She apologized for everything: her affair, the lies, and the fallout that followed. She claimed to regret every choice she'd made and begged for forgiveness. I read the letter twice, then folded it neatly and tossed it in the trash. Charlotte's redemption was no longer my concern. My life had moved on, and I intended to keep it that way. Justice wasn't just about punishing them. It was about reclaiming my life and my dignity. And in that, I had succeeded. Thank you, friends.